Yes, next on stage, actually already on stage, my two colleagues, Martin Humlund and Mikkel Madsen. Yeah, please welcome those two nice guys.
Is it on? Sure.
There we go.
The evolution of cloud. For the last 3 years, many things has happened on cloud. Many things you have seen in the portal, but underneath the hood, a lot more has changed. We are here today to just go a bit deeper than what Kek presented previously, and we would like to introduce you into what actually going on underneath. Who are we? My name is Martin Clausen. I'm the platform team lead at Umbraco, and today I brought my friend.
Hello, my name is Mikkel. I'm also part of the platform team. I've been working at Umbraco for around 7 years. As you can see, my title says Umbraco Cloud Mastermind. That just means I've done a lot of development on the cloud platform.
Yeah, what is the platform team? 2 years back, we at Umbraco, we figured that we needed more dedicated teams to take care of dedicated problems. There are a lot of complexity into building a cloud platform, and having one team do everything is just not the place where we want to be. So we created the platform team, and we focus mainly on the low-level bits and pieces of what make Umbraco Cloud run today. Who is the platform team? This is it. I promised the 3 other guys that I would assign each and everybody in this room to go give the 3 other guys a high five whenever you see them. And if they have a short elbow injury doing Codegarden, then that is perfect. So say hello. We at Umbraco, we believe that Umbraco Cloud should be the very best place to host your Umbraco solutions. We truly believe in that statement. That doesn't mean that it hasn't been coming without challenges that we needed to take care of in order so we can live up to this vision. For the last 3 years, we have been working intensely on providing a new hosting platform for Umbraco Cloud, and that is why we are here today.
Yeah. So in order to talk about where we are today, we need to go back to the very beginning to see where it all started. So if we go back to maybe 2014, 2015, this is when we had the first full-time employee on Umbraco Cloud. Other people from HQ were also contributing to the platform. People like Paul Sterling and Sebastian Jansen did a lot of great work on it. Around this time frame, we also hired a DevOps engineer to get the operations running. And then that guy in the corner, that's me, I was also hired to help make Umbraco Cloud a product that could be used. There we go. So this is one of the first prototypes from Umbraco Cloud. You might have seen this at previous Codegardens. Anyways, it shows some of the UI thoughts that was behind it, but this talk is not going to be about UI. We're going to talk about what's underneath it. So we had the idea that we wanted to make a platform that was really good at hosting websites. This is also the time where we started partnering up with Microsoft, and Microsoft had this thing called Azure. It was just in the beginning, and we thought we could come along for the ride for Azure. If any of you remember, then this is more or less how Azure looked back in the 15s. We had some websites, we had some virtual machines, some SQL databases as well. Anyways, while talking to Microsoft and figuring out what the platform should be, we kind of figured that pricing was off for what we wanted to offer. But instead, we were introduced into a program where we could get a white label solution of Azure. This more or less meant we took the website part of Azure, then we put it into a box. It's called this AP. And then the idea was that this box should go on-prem on your own servers. We at Umbraco, we are not hardware people. We do not want to maintain hardware. So instead, we put it back into Azure onto virtual machines. So this is it. This is our local. Azure pack or Azure in a box. We have some websites that can be spun up and spun down as we needed it, and also if more customers came in, we could just add more virtual machines via Azure.
Yeah, so at this point in time, it's 2015, and we had all the latest, greatest technologies at the time. We had event sourcing, CQRS. We could have infinite amount of storage in our data models. We had all the cool things such as ASP.NET MVC3 and AngularJS, which is still some bits of it. So essentially what we built back then was one big monolith on top of the hosting platform that Mikkel provided. And it was really good. I mean, at that point in time, we at Umbraco weren't many people maintaining this software. The price point at what we could get, the white label solution, was on point. We could deliver affordable websites for you, but also we could host it. And as Umbraco was still in a very early stage, it also meant that we could host a lot of websites relatively cheap. So it was perfect until it wasn't. Yeah, so Mikkel, he described this thing where we took some Azure and then we took something, got our white label solution and we wrapped ourselves into a pretzel and then put it back into Azure and everything. It kind of worked, but it got super, super hard to maintain. Even though that you can just spin up compute on demand, we still had to manage all the internal infrastructure, connecting all the bits and pieces in order to provision new hardware. One thing about having a hosting platform is, I don't know if you know it, you kind of need to have a lot of storage. So we needed to maintain file servers, which were basically just normal file servers that you plugged into the infrastructure. But images, hosting images, hosting websites, as well as providing all sorts of crazy auto updates, actually has a high hit or high impact on the performance of cloud. Also, just an honorable mention, everything here, it ran on a single SQL server, meaning that we needed to put a lot of time and effort into just maintaining that single SQL server. Also, here in 2015, we were continuing from 2015, we started to scale up in the teams. And a lot of the features that we had back then, they were actually directly connected into our onto our hosting platform. That meant that all new developers needed to know about the hosting platform, and that actually put it put a limit on the scalability of the teams.
So furthermore, we came in a situation where the current hosting platform, we were unable to extend it anymore. It means we kind of did everything we could, but we were unable to go any further with it. One of the features we wanted to build is multiple regions, but so due to some of the issues we saw before, so we are either able to do new features or we are able to do some operations. But again, due to the issues we just saw, we saw ourselves spending way too much time doing operations. And then imagine if we wanted to do more regions, it would just mean more operations, and again, even more operations the more regions we would get. Also, around this time, this white label box AP was deemed end of life. This means no more support for it and no more patches would be applied.
We need to do something. I mean, we need to do something.
Yes. So if we go back to the statement about our vision, Umbraco Cloud should be the best place to host Umbraco. We really needed to do something in order to achieve this. So this one, we had to look back, take a step back and then see two things: the internal things, was there anything we needed to change there, and then what was the most important things to get done right.
And I mean, when starting such a big project, it really needs to get into how is it that we want to build software internally. So one of the first things we needed to do was to provide a series of guidelines and best practices for an ever-evolving software architecture. So that was one of the things we needed to do. This includes we, the platform team, we are managing a ton of infrastructure. And having people just clicking around in the Azure portal and then just hope that stuff just works, and it's really become cumbersome. So we needed to introduce infrastructure as code as a way of maintaining, auditing, and also ensuring that we can continue to evolve our infrastructure on the platform as we move along. We wanted to have an increased emphasis on automated testing, meaning that every time we write a feature, we needed to introduce some sort of checks and balances so we didn't regress building new software. Also, a key part of this is that we wanted to ensure that even though that the code has been deployed onto our platforms, we need observability. So with observability in mind, we continuously ensure that everything works as it should be. And we are getting to a point where, and we needed to get to a point where we can actually figure if things go wrong before nobody else is noticing it. And last but not least, all of this is because we want to release with confidence. It is important for us, even though if you are a junior developer or an intermediate developer, that you are confident in what you're building, and we can ensure that we continuously delivering value without breaking stuff along the way.
So those were some of the process things we needed to take up and needed to think about. But then we had to rethink the way we did infrastructure. Again, part one of this would be to identify the challenges we had with the current infrastructure, and then, of course, figure out some solutions to these challenges.
So building a new hosting platform, it comes with a set of issues. So first of not least, we needed to figure out how do we take care of the storage of websites, how do we take care of serving tons and tons of image content and text and all of that. We wanted to provide CDN capabilities. And also, when you are hosting thousands upon websites, it's also pretty important that you know how to manage the traffic coming into cloud. Personally, we don't want to manage hardware. We don't want to have servers standing in the out basement. So we wanted to ship that responsibility onto somebody we knew actually were knowledgeable about that. Another challenge is identity management. There's one rule of security is that don't do it yourself. So we wanted to partner up with somebody who knew a lot about identity management. We wanted to build a new hosting platform on proven technology, meaning that thousands of people or thousands of websites has been deployed before we are trying to do it ourselves. We wanted Class A hosting support, meaning that if we encounter any issues, we would like to ensure that the best people are available to us to help us continue making sure that the cloud continuously works. And the most, but not least, as mentioned, Mikkel mentioned before, we were going more and more towards operations, but we really wanted to go back to delivering features. That is where we are having the most fun.
Yep. So let's see what we actually ended up doing. So now we're in the time frame of 2020. So the first thing we had to do was to make us independent of the white label solution. So again, one of the issues we saw was that this white label solution, it contained all the data. It was owning the data. So all hosting data was stored within it. So we had to take ownership of the hosting data, meaning we had to build an abstraction on top of it. And that would mean that we could take your hosting data and put it on more or less any platform we wanted to. Then we moved away from physical storaging of images, meaning those file servers we talked about earlier. They should no longer serve images. These were put into Azure Blob. And then we introduced identity management. And this is our abstraction on top of it. It's called Umbraco ID. And it's built on the best practices from Microsoft. 2021 was a huge year. This is when we started doing native Azure hosting, which means from this point on, all new projects on Umbraco Cloud was created on Azure websites. No more would be created on the old platform. This is also when we started decomposing the monolith we saw earlier into smaller dedicated services. So we did this so each team at Umbraco, each development team could have the responsibility for their own services. They would know when to develop features and when to release those features.
Do you guys remember the IP 23.115.180? Nope, I understand that. But if you had a custom host name on Umbraco Cloud, that was the IP that you needed to point your custom host name to us, so we could take care of it from here. Of course, when it got to us, it was going into this white label solution where we didn't have any control of where the traffic was directed. So let's say you wanted to build a new hosting platform. That means that we need to take the incoming request and being able to redirect it to wherever we wanted to do. So in 2021, we introduced Cloudflare to help us take control of the incoming traffic to the hosting platform. And that actually enabled us in 2021 to move away from the old hosting platform onto the new hosting platform. This is just quickly how we did it. So, for example, let's say you have a custom host name and it points into Cloudflare as we described. And then that old website would point into our AP solution. Next to that solution, we would spin up a new website on our new hosting platform. And then we would start transferring content into the new web application. When that was up and running, we would do a side-by-side comparison on pages and subpages just to ensure that the consistency was still right. And when we were sure that the pages, they were working, then we just flipped the traffic over to the new websites. From here, we could dispose the old websites. And now just comes the understatement of this talk. Imagine having a few thousand websites and just going through this, and then everything is on the new platform.
So this brings us to 2022 this year. So we was able to enable CDN caching of all the content and all the media on your sites. This is mainly due to the integration we did with Cloudflare. I know Philip talked about that in the keynote as well. This also comes with the option to do automatic minification of JavaScript and CSS and HTML. Later, 2022, we will also release regional hosting, started with the US. Anyways, so moving away from the old platform has enabled us to start using some of the cloud native features. But let's just take a look at one of the selling points of Umbraco Cloud. This is automatic upgrades. If you look at how we did it on the old platform, then a patch would be released of Umbraco. This patch would go into a virtual machine which was standing online 24/7, just waiting for something to do. Then this virtual machine would start updating file servers. It would do some Git operations. It would copy some files. And then this in turn would update the websites that we had running. And then the website would have this patch applied. So this had some constraints, mainly on the scalability. So this was a one virtual machine, but we were unable to do more than maybe 10 upgrades at a time. This also means that the more customers or the more projects we would get on Umbraco Cloud, the longer it would take to upgrade all the sites. Another thing was performance. So these file servers, they were pretty stressed out doing an upgrade. as well as we would have this hardware sitting around for weeks without nothing to do. Moving on to the new platform, again, now we're able to use some more cloud-native features. So this means on the new platform, same thing happens, a new patch is released of Umbraco. This then calls an Azure function, which is spun up on demand. This Azure function starts orchestrating some container instances, and these each container instance, that's a program that knows how to upgrade, has the responsibility of upgrading one website. And then when it's done with this one website, it shuts down. If there are more sites that needs to be upgraded, we spin up some more, or else we just decommission everything. So now we have no hardware lying around. We only spend money on the compute that we are actually using. And then, finally, in 2022, so this might not have meant a lot for you in the audience, but for us at Umbraco HQ, this was a huge day. The old AP box was put in the grave.
The infinity beyond, that is here we need help from you guys. We have spent the most time the last 3 years of actually rewriting most of what Umbraco Cloud is today in terms of what hosting platform we are providing. So Umbraco Cloud is in a good place. The foundation is right. We are at a point in time where we are ready to take on, listen to you guys and figure out what is it that you want us to build. So with all the technical depth out of the way, it is just time to look forward. Some of the ideas, and these are the only ideas, is dedicated feature environments on cloud. Imagine you being a developer. Right now, you need to compete for the development environment if you are bigger teams. But if you as a developer have a single Umbraco instance where you can just develop your features and then push it onto the later environments being staged on live, whenever the feature is done, and then we can spin down the feature environment again. Also, we would like to look into how we can enable you to bring your own repositories. Still just in the early stages of the idea, because this is extremely core on how you use cloud today, but we want to do it right. So, see you around at Codegarden. Don't be a stranger. The things that we build, they are might be closed source, but that is not meant as we don't want to share how we are doing things. We like to talk technology. And with that, thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Madsen and Mikkel. It will be possible to ask questions to those two guys after the next session. So we'll look forward to seeing you here again. And in a few minutes, we will have a column on the stage. So 3 or 4 minutes, and we are ready to go.